When you think of Lamborghini as a brand, you instantly think of excellent design, style and finesse. And so like many people, I was surprised to hear that they had allowed the rights to make a purely Lamborghini based racer to none other than Titus. They've never really been known as a solid developer, and their work on the N64 made them one of the most untrusted game studios. But nevertheless, in late 1997, Automobili Lamborghini landed on Nintendo 64. And nope, I have no idea why they chose such an awful name, however they did have to change it from Lamborghini 64 due to legal reasons. But terrible naming choices aside, the N64, even by this time, was becoming a magnet for racing games. No matter whether you preferred futuristic, realistic, simulation or arcade, the console had all styles covered pretty early on. And this is a follow-up to the Super Nintendo's Lamborghini American challenge. And like other N64 races of the time, at first it won't grip you, but if you give it a chance there's actually some fun to be had with this title. In the same vein as the Cruisin' series, there really isn't a whole lot pushing the system in either its graphics or its gameplay. But at its heart, Automobili Lamborghini is a street racing game with supercars across a range of environments. The core racing is very simplistic and can seem a little bland at first. You have an arcade mode with the checkpoints to extend your time, but in my opinion you're best heading straight into the Grand Prix mode. Now there are no huge aerial jumps or incredible crashes, but there are a few minor shortcuts to take, and so exploring the best route is one of the more interesting and rewarding aspects of the game. There are of course secret cars to unlock and tracks to get as well, but whilst there are a solid number of tracks, they are hardly difficult to race and have few dramatic turns or bends. Most interestingly though, is that the AI is actually very good. You probably all know by now just how much I love racing games, but one area where many racers let themselves down is having opponents with no aggression. Here however you have drivers who seem to take great pleasure in trying everything possible to take you out, and a few times I even saw them purposely box me in, which is a nice touch. An interesting aspect of the racing though is that like Formula 1 racing games, here you'll also have to make pit stops to change your tyres and to refuel. These play like mini games where you have to control pumping your own fuel and also spin the control stick to have your pit crew fit you with some fresh rubber. A problem in the game though is that the pit entrances are huge, and there were occasions when I would accidentally drive into the lane and then have to waste valuable time pitting when I really didn't need to. It is a minor gripe, and once you've played the tracks a few times, you will figure out where best not to be on the track. Visually, whilst the game isn't pushing the console to its limits, it's actually quite a polished game. Remember, this is 1997, and so for its time the graphics were not bad at all. Sure, some of the backgrounds are bland, dull, but there's really no visual damage on the cars either, but the models and minor details are very well done. The frame rate is also rock solid and you get a great sense of speed, and with support for up to 4 players, I was expecting this to drop dramatically, but it did remain consistent. The controls are easy to pick up, and whilst they are a little sensitive, it was a nice addition that when you need to make a pit stop, you really notice your car handling differently and struggling to accelerate as quickly. Also, there is a special setting for playing the game specifically with a steering wheel controller, and so it's nice to see a game studio actually consider the fact that some people would be playing this on something other than the stock N64 controller. The game's sound too, it does a great job, and again this is an early N64 title, and so it is quite limited, but the music is fine and the effects are subtle and they won't grate your ears after a few hours of playing. But all in all, I'd best describe this as a racing game for racing fans. Nobody is going to be converted into racing games by this title. However, if you dig racing games and want to play something along the lines of the Cruisin' series with perhaps a little more realism, then you couldn't go wrong with this game. So for today's topic of conversation, I want to know what your favourite arcade style racing game is on Nintendo 64. There are so many to choose from, so perhaps picking just a single title could prove difficult. Regardless though, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and until next time.